Hello, I'm Rupert Turton and welcome to the Business Spotlight interview where we talk to local business owners about their journey. Today, I'm joined by Edward Pigg, who's the Managing Director at Axil Integrated Services, who provide total waste management solutions to many of the UK's largest manufacturers. So hello, Edward.
Yeah, hello. Hello.
So Edward, would you like to start just by telling us a bit about what you do?
Yes, so as you just touched on, we're a specialist total waste management business. We only you won't see us on the high street. We focus on UK manufacturing only. So you've got a very large site making cars, aeroplanes, trains, engines. They're our target. We just a reasonable amount of spend per year to make our services rational, and what we deliver to our customers is significant improvements in their environmental performance.
Okay. And how did you get into it in the first place?
It's a really long story. So my background is I spent nearly 20 years working for a high street bank. And in 2008, I had a significant birthday and decided to take a career break. Took about a year off. And after a year, I ended up taking an interim role with one of the UK's largest waste management companies. I won't name them, but they're one of the largest.
Yeah.
And if you don't know anything about the waste industry, your only experience is the bins you put out on a Sunday night.
Yeah.
So I joined a business, and my whole background in waste was the 3 bins I used to put out on a Sunday night, and suddenly this massive £24 billion industry appears in front of you.
And the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And the beauty with coming in relatively senior with no waste management experience, I was able to bring lots of transferable skills from banking and financial services, which that's really ended up within Axil today.
So what are the biggest challenges running a waste business at the moment?
So they're multifaceted. The main one is all of the barriers to entry, which are considerable. So it's not the sort of thing you can just start up. So there are two basic prongs that you sit on. One is general waste, which is the type of waste that you as a householder would put out on a Sunday night, as I've described.
Yeah.
Our core business is we're specialists in hazardous waste. So the barriers to entry for that are considerable. So you're dealing with production wastes that can be hazardous on their own. They can certainly be hazardous when they're mixed with each other. They can react with sunlight or rainwater or just being jostled about. So there's lots of specialization that you have to deal with, and they're not apparent when you enter the sector.
Yeah. Are there any others?
Any other
challenges running a business in the waste sector?
Yeah, so compliance aside, the main one is getting good people. So one of the things I sort of picked up when I joined a large business back in 2009 was the majority of the folk had come up through either landfill or treatment, and as a consequence, they're operational experts. They really understood how to make transport pipes and tanks and landfill sing, but weren't very sharp when it came to the customer service offer. So the main sort of differentiator, I suppose, is really understanding what your customers want. So our philosophy is that we're looking to deliver to a customer's wants rather than what we have to sell.
Yes. Yeah, actually, so customer-centric business.
Correct.
And you also seem to be looking at the website quite strong on your values as a business as well. Yeah,
so you have to keep value simple, because the larger you get, the more complicated your business becomes, and you can forget what you started off doing. So one, you have to have a great team. You need to act with high levels of integrity. We have to focus on health and safety, and we deliver environmental stewardship. So those 4 things are really what we come back to all the time, even at our management meetings. Yeah. Because again, the bigger you get, the more bureaucracy that you have, the more compliance comes upon you, and you can lose your authenticity. So keeping I suppose always coming back to what is it you set out to do that.
Yeah, I suppose it is. It's keeping everybody going in the same direction as well, and it makes the decision-making process presumably easier for you and your team as well, if you've got the values to fall back on to shape your decisions.
Well, the challenge is, Robert, as we went bigger, so going from say 11 million to 16 million pound turnover was probably the biggest challenge, because that's where you have to bring management in.
Yeah.
So when you're a smaller business, you can sort of manage it all yourselves. In our circumstance back in 2018, there's only 34 of us. So it's very easy as a director to manage the business almost from right at the front to, you know, the reporting side. Now we're over 200 strong. You have to do that through a management team. And the big challenge is getting managers to make the decisions that in a smaller business the directors make. So, you know, the philosophy that we have as a business is I push as best we can all of the decision making into the management team and the supervisors.
Yeah.
I suppose it's in the spirit of seek forgiveness, not permission.
Yeah, go on.
Because the reason for that is that going back to, you know, we don't have, you know, thousands of trucks or, you know, millions of cubic meters of landfill void to go out. What I have is a service which, you know, some of our competitors could replicate if they wished. What they struggle with is the absolute focus on customer service. So the reason why pushing decisions to the front line is if a customer rings up with a particular problem, you want your call handler or your operational supervisor or your regional manager to take ownership and resolve it there and then.
Yeah.
Because as soon as you go into, oh, well, we better check, that's not in the policy, I've got to check with my supervisor or my manager, or it's got to go to the board, weeks elapses. And in the meantime, all my customers want is their containers emptied, and they want their environmental stewardship to improve.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's been your
risk that
also gone?
So I said the risk that comes with that, Robert, is that occasionally the decisions are the wrong decisions. So that's where, for a board of directors, you've got to be mature enough to, if a decision's made and it's incorrect, is offering coaching and support to the manager or supervisor who made the decision, so that the next time they make it, that, you know, they don't make the same one. And the simple maths in our business is, and my guiding philosophy has always been 80% of the time, people make an absolute spot on decision and they smash it out the park. 10% of the time, okay, we could have made a better decision, but it was still a good thing. 10% of the time, absolute disaster. It's cost us money, but we can recover. That's the learning happening. So when you make a mistake, that's the learning happening. You've got to get your head around that.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very interesting as well, because I suppose as your role has grown into managing a bigger and bigger business, presumably also you've moved from much more, and I think this is what you've just described, moving much more from management and presumably coaching of your team to much more of a leadership role. So actually your emphasis as a business leader has had to change over the years as well.
Yeah, you're correct. Back in 2019, it went from me not necessarily managing the day-to-day, worrying about next month's sales. I was then thinking about the 5-year plan, what I have to do now. And even as I sit here to you on a pretty grim August day, I'm actually 9 months ahead. So I'm already in the coming out of winter in February and March on the planning that we're doing, today, because the lead-in time on a lot of our stuff 6 to 9 months.
Yes, I guess there's investment in plants and things that surround it all as well.
Well, it's not necessarily the investments in plant, it's people. So if you are winning a large contract, if you're bringing in a several £1 million a contract, and it's got a defined rollout plan, you've got to resource that accordingly. So in some cases, before you've invoiced the customer for any money, you've got to put people on the ground, vehicles in, administrators in, operational staff, all in anticipation of a new deal rolling. And then you've got all the challenges. It's a new deal which we've not done before, so you always have the 2 or 3 months of bedding in, where lots of smaller mistakes are made. But again, that's the learning happening. So the challenge for me and my directors is thinking about those things now. But they're not going to happen for 9 months.
No, absolutely. So what's your biggest learning been since you've been a business owner or business leader? Sorry.
So the main thing is being able to back yourself. So you always think when you're junior or supervisor, junior manager, regional manager, that the guys on the board of directors are these super sharp business monsters who know everything. And what I've learned is actually they don't. They're just blokes or women. And occasionally you want to make a change or you want to do something different. You have to back yourself. And that means going into a boardroom and discussing the benefits, pros and cons. But you do need I suppose what I would call the tension of debate. You need good debate in a boardroom, but ultimately when there's risks risks that need to be taken, commercial risks, you've got to back yourself.
Yeah. So then what have you learned about yourself during the journey then?
The biggest thing that I've had to come to terms with, certainly over the last 5 years, is sort of losing control of the people. And what I mean by that is when you've got 34 members of staff, you know them, you know their wives and their children, their dogs, you know everything about them. And as you get bigger, you suddenly don't. You walk into the office and you'll bump into someone on the stairs and you don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And I try and make a habit of inducting all new staff into the business, but it's not possible. We've got sites across the whole of the UK.
Yeah.
So that is quite difficult for me because I genuinely care about the people. We're only a good business because I've got great staff.
Yeah, absolutely. And as with all service-based businesses as well, it's that the staff will make or break the business.
Absolutely. And that's the biggest thing is that I like things done a certain way. And when you're small, that's the way that things happen. But as you get bigger, it's more like I'd like things done a certain way, but there's some broad guidelines, and as long as it's done within these broad parameters, I'm sort of more happy. Whereas 5 years ago, I'd get really focused on the detail, which you can't when it's a £30 million business now.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what are your aspirations for the company in the next 5 years?
So we are an aggressive sales and marketing business. So my plan is to double it from where we are now. So we're hoping FY26, 55, 60 million pounds turnover, and the attendant profit to go with it.
Yeah, and is that through organic growth or is that going to be through acquisition? Or you don't want to say, of course.
So our philosophy and my guiding principle is organic growth is the best growth.
Yeah.
So we've been growing at between 25 and 40% compound for the last 5 years organically.
Yeah.
And the challenge you have with acquisition, Robert, is that if we could take a giant leap forward and go and buy a smaller player or one of our peers, but you end up with all the cultural challenges which would arrest our organic growth.
Yeah.
So our strategic direction of travel through really smart marketing and focused sales is organic growth.
Yeah. Okay. So a bit of a change of tack, but what would you say to anyone thinking of going into business for themselves then?
Well, I refer to my previous answer, back yourself. If you've got a good plan and you know what your customers want and you can deliver, turn customer needs into wants, then back yourself. What's the worst that's going to happen?
Yeah, fair point. So who's the first person that comes to mind when you think about success?
Oh, crikey, that's a great question. I am quite a big fan of Steve Jobs.
Oh, yeah.
Only, but I mean, I'm a service expert and he's a product expert. So he knew exactly what he wanted to do. He wanted to lock down all the features of his product, but he wanted his product to be the absolute best it could be. And there's one thing he said, I'm pretty sure it's him who said it, that there's no, employ the best people you can and let them do their job. There's no point by getting good people in and telling them what to do. They should be telling me what to do.
Yeah. Okay. Edward, it's been great talking to you today. Thank you for your time. If anybody wants to know more about Axil, how do they find out? Axil-is.com, or just hopefully our marketing should be slick enough. As soon as you're typing Axil into a search engine, it should bring up our business. So yeah, we're relatively easy to find, or hopefully anyone who's any large manufacturers viewing this, then and you're in the UK, we're well placed to service your needs. Okay, excellent. Edward Pigg, thank you for your time today. It's been great talking to you.
Thank you, Robert.